At my parents' place, it all began innocently enough, just another family cookout, one of those bright Sunday afternoons when everyone gathers to rejoice, overindulge, and catch up on life. Uncles, aunts, cousins, children playing, and of course my cousin Jessica were all present. Growing up, I felt Jessica and I were like sisters, always close and sharing everything. But something didn't feel right today. Jessica had been more reclusive than normal lately. She was quiet today, spending much of her time on her phone and stealing glances at Uncle Steve, her stepfather, who used to be the light of the party. I kept having the uneasy sense that something wasn't right. Even though everyone has bad days, this one was unique. Jessica was concealing something. She wasn't just having a bad day. I saw Jessica slipping away from the group while the party was in full swing and everyone else was occupied with eating and laughing. My curiosity overcame me. After a little pause, I followed her inside. She was pacing tensely in the corridor while holding her phone to her ear. I could hear her voice, low and eager, almost hysterical, even if she didn't see me. "No, I told you that I couldn't speak at this time. He is present. Please don't call me anymore. Simply quit." Looking over her shoulder as if someone were about to catch her, she hung up. She noticed me at that point. She hurriedly stuffed her phone into her pocket as her face went white. "Is everything all right?" I tried to seem informal when I inquired, but I could sense the strain in her. Her eyes stayed away from mine as she nodded too hastily. "Yeah, just some work stuff," she said, but her voice was shaky. Work stuff? On a Sunday? And why was she so nervous? Jessica brushed past me, muttering something about needing to get some air. I watched her go, my mind racing with questions. What was going on? I decided to let it go for the moment, but Jessica's strange behavior kept nagging at me. Later, as the sun set and the guests began to leave, I noticed her standing by the back gate, talking to Uncle Steve in hushed tones. They were too close, their body language too intense. It didn't look like a casual conversation between a stepfather and his stepdaughter. I felt a chill run down my spine. The next day, I couldn't get Jessica out of my mind. We used to tell each other everything, but now she was shutting me out. I needed to know what was going on. I called her, suggesting we hang out, just the two of us, like old times. She hesitated, but finally agreed to meet at a quiet cafe downtown. When I got there, Jessica was already seated, sipping her coffee and staring blankly out the window. She looked up when I approached, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. We exchanged small talk at first, but I could see she was still on edge, glancing around as if expecting someone to show up. "Jess, I'm worried about you," I finally said, cutting through the pretense. "You've been acting strange, and I know something's going on. At the party you seemed scared, and that phone call." Jessica bit her lip, her eyes darting away. She sighed heavily, setting her cup down with a clatter. "It's complicated," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's not something I can just talk about." I leaned closer, keeping my voice gentle but firm. "Is it Steve? Is he bothering you?" Jessica's eyes widened, her expression a mix of surprise and fear. She didn't answer right away, and I knew then that I had hit the nail on the head. She started to speak but stopped herself as if trying to figure out how much to say. "Jess, you can trust me," I urged. "Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." She hesitated, then finally blurted out, "Steve's been acting weird, really weird. He's been, I don't know, just making comments, trying to get close to me, and it's freaking me out." "What kind of comments?" I asked, my heart pounding. Jessica's eyes filled with tears and she looked down, her hands trembling. "Stuff like how I'm grown up now, how I look just like my mom when she was younger. It's just creepy, you know, and then he tried to kiss me." I froze, my mind reeling. Uncle Steve tried to kiss Jessica? This was worse than I imagined. She was practically family to him. How could he do that? Anger surged through me, but I forced myself to stay calm for Jessica's sake. "Did you tell Aunt Linda?" I asked, my voice barely steady. Jessica shook her head quickly. "No, I can't. She's so happy with him. I don't want to ruin that. And what if she doesn't believe me?" "Jess, you have to tell someone," I insisted. "This isn't just going to go away. You shouldn't have to deal with this alone." She nodded, but I could see the hesitation in her eyes. She was scared, torn between protecting her mom's happiness and protecting herself. We spent the rest of the afternoon talking. and I promised her I'd be there no matter what she decided to do. A few days later, I decided to confront Steve myself. I knew it was risky, but I couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I waited until he was home alone and showed up at his door. He greeted me with that same smile, the one that now seemed so sinister. "Hey, what brings you by?" he asked, but I could see the flicker of apprehension in his eyes. He knew why I was there. "Steve, we need to talk," I said, my voice firm. "About Jessica." His smile faltered, and he gestured for me to come inside. We sat down in the living room, and I got straight to the point. "I know what you've been doing, and it needs to stop, now." Steve's expression shifted from surprise to a kind of forced calm. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but his voice was tight. "Don't play dumb, Steve. Jessica told me everything about the comments, about the kiss. This is serious." For a moment, he just stared at me, and I could see the mask slipping. Then he leaned back, letting out a slow breath. "I messed up," he admitted, his tone contrite. "I was just confused. It won't happen again." "Damn right it won't," I snapped. "Because if it does, I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly who you are, including Aunt Linda." He nodded, his expression grim. "I get it. I'm sorry. Really, I am. I'll keep my distance." I left his house feeling a mix of relief and anger. I didn't trust him as far as I could throw him, but at least I had made it clear that I was watching him. And I knew I needed to keep my guard up, not just for Jessica's sake, but for the whole family's. When I told Jessica about my confrontation with Steve, she seemed relieved but still on edge. She wasn't ready to tell her mom, and I didn't push her, but I promised her that I would keep an eye on Steve, and that she wasn't alone in this. For a while, things seemed to calm down. Jessica kept her distance from Steve, and he seemed to respect that. But then, a few weeks later, I got a call from Jessica, late at night. She was crying, her words barely coherent. "Jess, slow down. What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. "It's Steve. He followed me after work. Tried to corner me in the parking lot. I had to run. My blood ran cold. This wasn't over. It was just getting worse. I told Jessica to stay put and called the police. They took her statement, but without more evidence, there wasn't much they could do. Steve denied everything, of course, and played the concerned stepfather card. It was infuriating. Jessica decided to move in with me for a while, and I was more than happy to have her. But the tension was unbearable. Every time the phone rang, every time there was a knock at the door, we both jumped. It felt like we were living in constant fear, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Then, one evening, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Aunt Linda standing there, her face pale and drawn. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Linda, what's wrong?" I asked, my heart sinking. She stepped inside, her eyes red and swollen. "I need to talk to Jessica," she said, her voice breaking. "Steve, he's confessed about everything. I had no idea. I thought he loved us." I called Jessica into the room, and when she saw her mom, she froze. There was a moment of tense silence. Then Linda pulled Jessica into her arms, both of them sobbing. I stood back, giving them space, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The truth was finally out, but the damage was done. In the weeks that followed, our family struggled to pick up the pieces. Linda filed for divorce, and Steve moved out of state. Jessica started seeing a therapist, trying to rebuild her trust and confidence. It wasn't easy, but we were all there for her, every step of the way. As for me, I learned a lot about family, about loyalty, and about the strength it takes to stand up for the ones you love. It wasn't easy to confront Steve, but it was the right thing to do. And in the end, that's what family is about, being there, no matter how tough things get. Jessica is still healing, and I know it will take time for her to fully move on from what happened. But she's strong, and she's surrounded by people who love her. And as for Steve, well, he's out of our lives for good. We may never fully recover from what he did, but we've learned to lean on each other, to be honest and open, and to never let anyone come between us again. Family is worth fighting for, and we'll keep fighting no matter what.